Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Dan. It's great to be here. Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day this weekend. Uh, you guys hear about all this snow they got in New York? Yeah, they got like 10 feet of snow out there. Yeah, that's more snow than is typical for where that is. The way I see it, there's a very clear defining line between a lot of things. You're either this or that. You're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. Or you're a Coke person or a Pepsi person. How many people here like Coke? Yeah, I'm a Coke person. That's the thing. So I was over at my manager's house the other day, and I was asking him, we were talking in the living room, and I was like, hey, can I get a drink? And he's like, yeah. So I go up to the kitchen and I open the fridge, and all he's got is Pepsi in there, and I'm like, hey, Mike, I like Coke. You could at least keep some Coke in here for me. I mean, keep some Coke in here for me. Yeah. And then there's the time I went to the movie theater, and I was talking, and I went up to the counter. This bitch behind the counter says to me, you want a drink? And I said, yeah, can I have a Coke? And she says, is Pepsi okay? And I said, if I wanted Pepsi, I would have asked for a Pepsi. I asked for Coke. Is Pepsi okay? And every week it seems like there's a new soda coming out. And what's this week's? Sierra Mist. God, I want to get on the phone and call their corporate headquarters and say, yeah, Sierra Mist? Yeah, I liked you guys when you were 7 Up. A lot of great comedians getting work out there, and he did the commercial for them. A lot of great comedians getting work out there, and reminds me of this old commercial. Tell me if you remember this. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. Hello? I'm Tim Heidecker, and that was a reenactment of one of my comedy sketches I do on stage. The joke there is I go to comedy clubs and I'll do this comedy routine that isn't exactly funny, and it isn't exactly humorous. But the humor comes from the fact that I'm delivering these very straightforward, very expected jokes to an audience that may or may not pick up on that fact. I've done it at least 10 times throughout the years, and you can find all those clips on YouTube. You might be wondering who I am, Tim Heidecker. Well, where do I begin? I went to film school in the late 90s, where I met my dear friend Eric Wareheim. He and I instantly clicked. While everyone else was trying real hard on their projects, trying to make this high-gloss stuff, Eric and I kind of embraced the lo-fi, VHS. And for example, our final for our senior project, everyone else did all these very serious film essays, but instead Eric and I did this little joke where we did this whole VHS video essay on lobster in cinema. We used clips of like people eating lobster and talked about like how lobster had been in cinema for years, and Eric did a bit on how VHS is the future and it's perishable stuff. say really funny things like that. And what else do? Eric and I graduated, and from there we stuck together and continued collaborating. Eric and I have very similar comedic tastes. I give a little bit of zip, he gives a little bit of zap. And our first show we actually signed on to was for Adult Swim, which was Adult Swim was a TV show on a TV channel which broadcasted kind of new age, new kinds of humor, new kinds of comedy. So our show, Tom Goes to the Mayor, it was done in these 2D animated panels, and it featured this town. We kind of built this world, had these little stories happening, little awkward interactions. And that show evolved into our next show, and which was where we really took up speed. That was Tim and Eric's awesome show. Great job. It was big. What we did was we took all these influences, like local TV shows, local broadcast shows, and we tried local news, and we parodied them, recreated the look, VHS, that old TV, that old early 2000s local broadcast look, and we took it to an extreme. We had these crazy skits on the show, like we had Dr. Steve Brule, played by the great John C. Reilly. Steve Brule was this news correspondent character who kind of had a crush on one of his news members, Jane Schuyler, and she just happened to be married to Wayne Schuyler. Eric and I played Jane and Wayne. And so Steve had a crush on her, and there was some like weird flirtation going around in all their skits. They'd be broadcasting the news, and there's like this sexual tension between Jan and Steve, and Wayne's just kind of on the outside of it. He's like, hey, that's my wife, you know? Another skit we did was there was this big office, this lady at the office who was just huge. Eric played her in a fat suit. It was hilarious. And then I played the bald, perverted boss who was always like, hey, you look like a fat whale. Hey, you look like a fat whale. I'd like to get a piece of that, you know? But I didn't show the office members, so I always treated Eric like dirt in these skits. And there was this coworker, Gary or Gary, and he would always like play into it, but I'd get pissed at him like, too far, Larry, too far! And what other skits did we do? We worked with some really great people. Well, Eric and I like to use these non-traditional actors, pull from, I don't want to call them weirdos, but people who are a little less normal, let's just say. We had David Lieber Hart. We found him through this old local access show. He did a Christian puppet show. Him and James Quall. James Quall was an impressionist / comedian who would appear on his show. These two guys made me laugh harder than ever. David Lieber Hart did these puppet things, but he wasn't very good at it. He would hold up the puppets and, you know, sing a song with the puppet or something like that. But it was always just a little bit off. He would sing these just weird songs, like about the Calborians or like the aliens, and we just embraced that. Gave him like a skit every other episode, and he'd just sing. James Quall was similar. James Quall did these funny impressions, and like we did one where we made him. He claimed to be doing a bunch of impressions, but all he'd say is spaghetti and meatballs. Like he'd say like, this is Jack Nicholson. Spaghetti and meatballs. This is Prince. Spaghetti and meatballs. That was called it was a qual now if you qualify to get this qualtastic collection. And it was like a 5 VHS box set joke there. One thing we do on the show is we do these infomercials, like these weird kind of offsetting infomercials where we kick them off in a way you think you know where they're going, and then we kind of turn them around, and they'll often have a product or something they're trying to advertise And like we'll start the infomercial normal, but then it'll hit some point of interest. At the point of interest, the infomercial will stop seeming like a normal infomercial and become more of one of these, like something a little less straightforward. It will turn on its head and it will kind of make the product seem bad by the end. like we did ham. That's ham. Is fake ham made of lamb. No, fake lamb made of ham. That was what it was. So the thing opens up real dark. This guy's on his phone. No, I can't get fired. No, I need this job. I need this job. Then he hangs up and he's about to end his life. He's got a gun. Then his wife calls him. Honey, time for dinner. He goes outside with the gun and he's like, you buying lamb on our salary? And she's like, no, it's ham. So then it some of them will do that where it like opens up and this very scene that doesn't even seem like it's going to be an infomercial, that somehow it turns out to be. And so that kind of wraps around and they advertise the ham. And then in the end he's like, ham. Everyone's like, ham. We did a couple of those weird abbreviation ones, like Bowel was the bat owl. That's like this like toy made for kids that is like an owl bat that flies around, and it's like, it looks demented. At the end we show it in like a trash can. It's like, now Bowel, Bob Odenkirk goes, he did the infomercial voice for most of them. He goes, now Bowel is perfect for throwing away. He throws away the bowel and he looks in the trash can and it's just got these piercing red eyes. And God, it was like we always have these like disturbing notes that we try to hit with our comedy. And then there was the dump. That was the deer umpire. So we had this goofy idea. These kids are camping and they're like trying to like count how many times they run back and forth, but it's like well, it's all like in Russian, but it's like the digital umpire is not very good, but try dump. The dump's just like this deer that, like this stuffed deer that's standing there, and it's like dump will alert you when you got a bear nearby, and it's like the kids, when dump goes silent when there's a bear nearby, and the kids are like down on their knees waiting to hear what it has to say, like, and then they go, bear! Like, it's like, it leaves a funny little pause, and then it goes, bear! Like, you don't expect it. And what else? There's the, how could I forget, Candy Tails? That was like this weird candy that we made, like, looked like it was horsehair that they dunk in these tubes. Oh, that was disgusting. Like, we had these kids, like, Candy Tails, try Candy Tails. And these kids just dunking this horsehair into this tube. Like, we always had sound effects, like just squishing and sloshing. And the kids were licking them. It was out of this world. It was really strange. And we ended on candy bangs for boys. It's like, now candy tails are for boys too. And the boy has these like ridiculous attachment bangs dripping like caramel onto his face. And who else? I don't know how we get kids to do these things. And who else? We got, oh, who was it? Yeah, the poop tube. How could I forget? Poop tube is this ridiculous, attached to his butt, and it's like goes around as like a spray nozzle, and it's like, now you don't have to sit down to take a poop. And he's like, and like the poop spraying out on like a urinal or something, and it's like, and then the kids got the poop tube, and the poop's just going all down his face. That was gross. That was gross. Maybe we went too far that time. We do another bit called Kids Break. That's like me and Eric on a green screen, and we do these goofy songs like, what was it? They're like parodies of like kids songs, like parodies. Like, so we do like one was called Bloody Nips. I know it's disgusting, but it's like bloody nips, my mom tapes my bloody nips, blah 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 bloody nips. And then Eric's like, yeah, that's a woman's problem. Yeah, it's weird that you're talking about that. I don't want to be part of this anymore. And he kind of scoots out. And I don't blame him. It was very weird. What else did we also do some more parodies of kids songs through this character Casey Tatum, who's like the child star, who's been forced into like stardom, and he's like what is he? He's like God, like this ridiculously gross, sweaty character who's like doesn't know how to do anything right, and he's singing, and he's got like Uncle Muscles, the guy who introduces him. He's like, bang bang cops and robbers, bang bang robbers and cops, bang bang rob that bank, throw 'em in jail, And that was one of Casey Tatum's many songs. We also have hamburgers and hot dogs too. 1 second. I want to have a barbecue. Bang bang cops and robbers. Just gonna do this quickly. And so Casey Tatum, somewhere I think at the end of season 1, Casey Tatum dies. So then for the remainder of the series, Casey Tatum is kind of dead, and everyone's kind of tragically remembering him. And we went way overboard with that. Like, there's this episode where like is all in memory of Casey Tatum, and they play like some old songs of his, like I miss my boy, I miss my life. Like he does some like tragic memory song where he's trying to recall his past, and that's like a really good one, really good skit we did. Then where we took it from there is we had Casey Tatum brought back to life by his brother. This guy just delivers him a box with Casey in it, like he's in pieces, and his brother freaking Frankensteins him, like and brings him back to life, and Casey returns only to fall apart again and be dead again. So his fans weren't too happy about that. One of my favorites are when we get Rudy and Brett. These are two guys with dentures, so we really worked out into the skit. These are guys who are always like palling around in the skits, and it's another infomercial, and they like always are advertising. We did the Cinco eye tanning system. I'll explain Cinco in a second. The food tube and the bro-oach. So Cinco is our made-up company, in-universe company, and Tim and Eric's awesome show, great job. Cinco is kind of the sponsor, creator of all these products. So like the eye tanning system, we got these two guys on the beach like, your eyes, they're not tan. Then he's like, how do I not look like a raccoon? That's simple, use the eye tanning system. Then we do this over the top, like he gets like his whole body in tan resistant gel except his eyes. Just like, obviously he could have just had like his eyes tan some other way, but we just took it there because we like to just take it there, where like so his whole body is like covered in tanning gel, and he's in this machine getting spray tanned like a madman, and they gotta remove his teeth so they don't get the stuff on them. So that's the thing, they always get their teeth removed. So then at the end the guy's like got the eye tan, and he's like, I don't get it. You got a beautiful set of pearls in there. Then the guy pops them out. Dentures didn't hurt a bit when they pulled them out. And then that sort of carries over into the bro-oach and food tube, because like the bro-oach is this like screw-on. It like screws into your chest. It looks really painful. Like but he's like, you need a brooch. It's like the man's brooch, and they screw it in, and you gotta remove your teeth for that one because you don't want to bite your tongue, and so the brooch is screwed on like, and then at the end, of course, it's like he's scared to death that he doesn't have his brooch. He's like, ah! And then he runs to the bathroom and he's like puking, and he's like, you gotta get your brooch. And then he's like, I haven't had time. And he's like, hey, you guys have a beautiful set of pearls in there. Dentures. Like, that's always the payoff. And then they will have the before and after, like before brooch, after brooch. And he's like, got his teeth gone. That's like a little in joke there. Food tube, same thing. It's this giant food tube you gotta bring to restaurants so you could grind your food so it doesn't, like using a fork is too dangerous is the joke we use. So then it gets all piped down into his stomach. And they gotta remove your teeth because the tube has to fit in. So it's like this whole setup, like Cinco food tube. You gotta get your teeth removed. So then the guy's like, I want to be a food tuber too. Yeah, me, I'm a tube man too. And he's got a beautiful set of pearls again. I was like, Cinco food tube system. And he's got like the teeth out. And that was insane. Another crazy one we did was Beaver Boys. These are like two like LA beach rat boardwalk kind of dudes who are just like these weird squeaky guys. And they Beaver Boys. This song goes Beaver Boys. Beaver Boys. And it's like shrimp and white wine. So it's just random. Like that one was pretty random. Like these two squeaky guys who just like love two things, shrimp and white wine. So one of them, like they're at this club and they start throwing up everywhere because they eat way too much shrimp and white wine because they bring out the cocktail. And another one, they get rushed to the hospital after that. And this one's funny because they're like in the hospital bed and like Patton Oswalt. We got Patton Oswalt for this one, and they're in the hospital bed like dying from like shrimp. Like I think it was their white wine levels were way off, so they had to bring them back up with the shrimp levels. So what they did for that is they actually had the shrimp and white wine level like meter. It's like shrimp, white wine, shrimp, white, and then it like balances out. And then they're like, we did it, boys! Bring in the shrimp. It wants to get the white, and it's like they all start eating and barfing again. It's just like we go for gross out humor sometimes, and we do like visual gags that are just disgusting. Like they're puking, drinking from the bedpan. It's just wrong. Like it's easy. It's just wrong, right? But what's wrong, you know? And oh man, I'm just having flashbacks. But one of my favorite guys, rest in peace, is Richard Dunn. Richard Dunn was an actor we worked with for most of Tim Eric Awesome Show. Great job. He actually had like he was this old man, but his delivery was great. There was one episode where Eric and I were in a contest, like, I'm more beautiful, I'm the more handsome man. No, I'm the more handsome man. So then we were like, we gotta have a contest and decide this for real. So lo and behold, Richard Dunn is the main judge, and he's got these two women on his side, and he's like, #1 handsome man. I show this video that's like me and my just like nude basically, and it's like censoring out my cock and my butt, and so then Eric shows this other video that's him with all these like busty ladies, and then Richard Dunn has to decide who's the most handsome. So then he's like, it's close, so there's only one way to tell. French kiss me, boys. And he starts going, French kiss me, boys. And then we're just like, ooh, don't want to kiss this old man, kind of. And that ends the we'll have abrupt ending to episodes sometimes, because, you know, like, our episodes are so, like, scatterbrained. Like, scatterbrained episodes. So it's not like we have to conclude everything. It's not like people are looking for closure. They're just looking for the gags, looking for the goofs. So when I come back to the Richard Dunn, we do some other funny skits with him. He was the we had a tennis match episode. We had a lot of cameos. We got Flight of the Conchords. We got Fred Armisen. We got Lonely Island. But this is just basically Tim and I. Sorry, I'm Tim. Eric and I were like in a tennis match, and it's like we're playing real hard, and then Eric's like destroying me, and then I make the comeback, and it's like neck and neck, and Richard Dunn's the referee. These guys are competing for $1 million. Winner takes home the check, and what happened? Eric just defeats me anticlimactically, then hits me over the head. And at this, we had a big cast. We had David Lieberhart. We had Ben-Hur, who we'll get to. But David Lieberhart's on the side like, my friend just got hit in the head. Don't you have any sympathy for him? And that's kind of another abrupt conclusion to that episode. I know it sounds weird. But basically, that episode was just about getting a bunch of funny people together and creating something that would make people laugh. So Ben-Hur is another guy we get on the show. He's kind of this, he's got this thick accent. He's like, hey, I'm Ben-Hur, and he's like, look into my mind. We have one episode where we just structure all the clips are coming out of his body. He's like, I got to get my clips back at the end, and he sucks them all back in, like. And then lo and behold, we have another episode. Ben Stiller. This one was ridiculous. We got Ben Stiller on the show. I don't know how we got him to agree to it, but Ben Stiller's on the show, and we're like, we want to make the Ben Stiller TV show. So Ben-Hur and Ben Stiller are teaming up, and Ben Stiller doesn't like to pitch, but he likes Ben-Hur, so he's like, hey, you want to still do this? So then there was the episode where Robin Williams. We got this Robin Williams impersonator. We like using celebrity impersonators. Like we did a Celebrity Zillions thing where there was like a bunch of Steven Spielberg's. Like we changed Tom Cruise's. Like we changed the name just a little bit. Billy Crystal's, John Depp, Whoopi Goldberg. Like we have a bunch of these like sometimes passable lookalikes who come on the show to portray like these mock versions of celebrities. So we had this whole skit where Robin Williams was given to me by Eric. He's like, here, I thought you deserved it. My comedy juices haven't been working to their max lately, and I think you could use like a new comedian to work with. So then it's like all played out like, oh, I scheduled you and Robin Williams an hour of improv. So then I show up and we start getting performed, but Robin Williams rambunctious. He's like running around like, hey, I'm Robin Williams. Hey, I'm Robin Williams. And I'm trying to calm him down. I'm like, calm down! And Robin Williams is just like running all over. Hey, I'm Robin Williams. But then when we get there, it's like this touching moment because like Robin lets Eric go up to perform with me. And it's like, they like nod at each other, like Robin Williams doesn't show up, and Eric and I have to perform together, and it's just great. We do that. Like what we showed next is just this ridiculous montage. Like it doesn't make there wasn't any logic to what we were doing. We were like running around each other, like like on a unicycle, or a tricycle or something like that, and it just doesn't. It was just like all like a big show. And then it like cuts to Robin Williams' vacation book at the end. This was before, rest in peace, Robin Williams died. And so we also, like I mentioned, Whoopi Goldberg. There was a ridiculous episode where we do like this skit, like Whoopi Goldberg, like it's a prank show where things keep going on. Like, there's Whoopsie. Where's Whoopsie? Whoopsie Daisy. Whoopsie Daisy. And she keeps getting like hit in the head or something, like totally like slapstick comedy. And Billy Crystal's, Steven Spielberg's. We did Spaghetti. I'll explain Spaghetti first. Spaghetti's this character I play. I wear this weird ratty looking wig, He looks so weird. He's got like marinara sauce all around his mouth. And the idea, the first skit with Spaghetti is he spooks them. So he'll hide like behind like something like this. And then when somebody's like not expecting it, he goes, "Spaghetti, spaghetti," and then like everyone's like always like underreacts. Like it's like one of those prank shows or live like prank shows that like but without the satisfying reaction. So people are like, "Yeah, I just thought he was the boss's son. He's been playing back there for like an hour. I thought he was just a kid." And then like the guy taking out the trash, and then Spaghetti pops out of the dumpster. He's like, "It wasn't scary. It was just weird." So then we take Spaghetti further. He does like a cigarette juice promo. Like, it's just it's one of those disgusting jokes where like the humor comes from just how far we went. So he's got like tobacco all in a water, and he's getting tobacco all over him. And he's like, "Good news, cigarette juice," and he keeps popping up, selling it to people. So then into Steven Spielberg's, going back to that, we did an episode where Steven Spielberg, wink wink, it was actually a double playing Steven Spielberg, does a Spaghetti movie. And I tell you, this was like so funny. So we were like playing on all this Hollywood CGI and stuff. So like I'm wearing like full green suit other than my face, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna CGI in the costume." So Eric, I'm kind of like pushing Eric to the side, and he shows up to set, and he's like, "What's going on, man?" And I got Brian playing Eric in the Spaghetti movie, and I'm like, "I gotta save the natives," and I'm like swinging on a vine, but it's all clearly like CGI. And there's like Steven Spielberg sitting reviewing the footage, and Eric joins him, and basically in the end, the movie's a huge flop. Everyone hates it because it's just, I mean, obviously it was just like way too like weird. The CGI was awful, so like obviously no one would like it. So I show up to a cafe with Eric, and I'm like, I got like prosthetic, like I got like surgery to look like Spaghetti permanently because I'm ready to do the franchise. And you just know, this movie's not good. He got the surgery, I got these stitches, I got tattoos of face tattoos of marinara sauce. And then a family's like, "Oh, can I get a picture of Spaghetti?" And they're trying to get Eric to move out of the frame. It's just like, it was one of many of our ridiculous stunts, and one I had great pleasure in working on. Which other ones are worth telling you about? Dick douche, that's like clean your dick with a rag kind of joke. And there was that's right, there was shopping indoors. This guy's like trying to sell all these like memorabilia from his big sci-fi movie, and he's like, his brother calls him up, and he's like, "Get a real job." And I played the brother, I did the voice of the brother, and he's like, "This is a real job! This is a real job!" And he's like slamming, he breaks everything, and I'm like, "Hey, Turtle, I was just kidding, Turtle." And he's like, "Oh, that's just my brother, some good old natured ribbon. This is a real job." And just like high tension, like you gotta imagine like if it was actually live TV, that kind of like freak out would be like totally unexpected. Like the audience would, the limited audience for those things, but like the audience would be like, "Oh, hey, was not ready for this freak out on live TV." And then there's the next best skit involving Glenn. That's the character, his name Glenn. So he creates another film called Grum. It's Pilgrims, and it's starring this really bad CGI animated character named Grum, who's like, I'm Grum," and his CGI never syncs up. And then he's like doing an interview, and it shows a clip of Pilgrims, and the joke's just how bad the animation is, because it was pitiful. We got Grum and this pilgrim riding in on a ship, and they're like, "Those are the Indians, those are Mays," and Grum goes, "Mays." It's like, it cuts to like a you know, like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, like Jack Nicholson's looking over this corn maze. Well, that's kind of what we did, but then we bring in this Chippy skit, which is like our little visual interlude scenes of where there's like a scene where your eye can explore it, and then it's like, where's my Chippy? And then it's like this weird demented baby pops up, and it's like, ah! It's like screaming, ah! And it's like, there's my Chippy, and it like circles him. And we also do a circling at one point. We'll do like a black and white freeze frame on most episodes, and then circle like, and it goes, great job, because that's the subtitle of the show, great job. And at the start, we have the theme song, Tim and Eric, awesome show. Tim and Eric, awesome show. Tim and Eric, awesome show. And then we'll always have a different audio bite of great job. Sometimes it'll be like, great job. Sometimes it'll be like, great job. Like just different little voices. And we expanded the show in various directions, various ways. Well, one way we expanded it was the Crimbus special. Crimbus was like our parody, of course, of Christmas, of all those classic like live Christmas spectaculars. So Crimbus is just this confused. Instead of a Christmas tree, we got this Crimbus bush. Like Crimbus bush is like, you gotta trim your bush, gotta keep your bush wet. It's just like, stuff sounds disgusting. Like bush is obviously a double meaning for like pubes. So it's like, you gotta trim your bush, keep your bush wet. And it just sounds so gross. And so we do this big live stage musical number like, what am I gonna get? What am I gonna get for Christmas? What am I gonna get? And it's just huge dance. We got these dancers in like elf-ish costumes, and so the Crimbus special, the story is that this guy, the whole story is we don't know what to get each other. Me and Eric don't know what to get each other for Crimbus. So of course, the obvious solution is, why not get each other the Christmas special you're watching right now? Doesn't make any like that. That's not impossible. That's not possible. Like how, like if you're watching it, it's clearly still being made. So it's like this weird meta thing where like the special is in it. Like, is that in that and that and that? It's like, how far does it go down? But anyways, so it's like both of us, I don't know what to get him for Christmas. So Ben-Hur's there. I walk. We have this big elaborate set piece where I'm like walking on the street, and Ben's like, hey Tim, why don't you get him the Tim and Eric awesome show, great job Crimbus special on DVD. And I was like, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about something totally different, so I missed that. And we keep missing these clues, like obvious clues, like people just telling us what we should get. And we go to Winterman, who's like the Santa Claus, but he's just this obese, like fat man with his like junk censored out, and it's just. And we like sit on his lap, and people are like, I want this, I want that, just like Santa, but just a naked man. So that adds like another layer of weirdness to it. Like, and so the character who's like the hero is DV. We created this like little costume for this creepy monster like thing that's like DV. He's got DVDs around him, and he's like, he's the one who saves the day in the end, because we have all this drama. We play the Carol, we do the Henderson Christmas special, which is that one where I was talking about, where I yell at like this obese woman, Eric, like oh, you're a dirty little whale, aren't you? So we do like a Christmas special for that. Crimbus, what was it? The pasta bear for Crimbus. That was just wrong. It was like a bear that was full of pasta, so you just throw it in the microwave and it burns away the bacteria. Just disgusting, just disgusting. So Eric and I finally learn our lesson, and DV's like, get each other this, and he's able to like materialize the DVD with lasers in his eyes, and we have these giant versions of the DVDs reeled out. And at the very end, we're forcing him to like it's like cruel. We're forcing him to like create all these copies of the DVD, and he gets drained. His body gets drained, and he falls to the ground. And it's just like, oh. And it cuts back to this framing narrative of this man in a hospital bed who is telling his daughter the story, or his granddaughter. And then he's like, DV was me. And he shows his hands, and they're all hairy, and it's like, oh, that guy was DV the whole time. And it plays into this ending where the girl doesn't care her grandfather's dying, and she's just like, I want the Christmas special. Give me it now. So he creates one, and it kills him. And he's like, was it worth it? Was it worth it killing a man? And like the dad's like, yeah, I think it was. Once again, just like totally dark, like real, like we're talking pitch dark humor in some of these things, because like he dies getting his granddaughter some DVD, and then the guy's like, yeah, it was worth it. Clearly it wasn't. Like in real life that would not be worth it. And then I could go on about Awesome Show for hours. There's so many little things, little details, but one of the spin-off series we did was Check It Out with Steve Brule, who is the first character I told you about, played by John C. Reilly. And man, does he get into character. Check It Out is like, he gets his own Channel 5 news like a show where he goes around and like interviews like people and finds out about cool locations, cool places. So he like, where does he go? He went to like a telescope, like a giant science telescope, a church. He goes to like restaurants. He goes, and it's just like real like interviews, real stuff like that. And everyone's like, we get like these bizarre reactions to John C. Reilly just playing this like absurdist character. He's just like way over the top. He's like way like, he doesn't have any social boundaries. So he's always like trying to kiss the women. He's always trying to find a father figure in the men. And there was so that's like a whole another side of Check It Out, like Awesome Show we do, because Check It Out with Steve Brule. It's like he's always has an idea, like the episode will be about like, it'll be about horses or something, or animals, something like that, and then the whole episode he'll learn stuff about that, then at the end he'll report what he learned. But all of it is just clearly being filtered through his weird arrested development mind. Like he doesn't really have a comprehensive view of the world. He's just kind of naive and ignorant, maybe. So we did another further spinoff where Steve Brule wrote his own sitcom pilot, which was called Bag Boy. So Bag Boy was this sitcom pilot where he's like works at a grocery store, and it's just like done up like one of those 90s sitcoms. The production team that we work with is incredible at bringing these things to life. So we got like this grocery store set, and Pablo Myers is this grocery store owner in the Check It Out universe, and he's like this weird guy who talks really weaselly, and he's like short, and they sell these cans of like anonymous meat. Like I best guess, who knows what's in there. One of them's horse meat, but even then you can't be too sure. So Bag Boy is the story. He falls in love with this beautiful actress we got, and there's this cool slick hair guy who's trying to take her from him. So Steve's like he's like, there's a thief at the grocery store, so he sets out to catch the thief to show this woman that he's the real man and that she should love him, and there's also a 10 can reward for it. So then he's on the night shift on the lookout for the thief. Then he like shoots a gun. He takes from the Terry Bruce Hiplo, another character, and he shoots it, and like shoots a bunch of cans all over. It's ridiculous, but it's like a good ridiculous. And eventually he finds out the sound he's hearing is in the back, and it's this character Brown. This is where we get real dark. Brown in the Check It Out universe. Well, Brown's got this kid tied up on a piece of meat, He's like spins him around, and there's like this kid. It's the woman's little brother. And Brown's like, I'm gonna cut him up and I'm gonna eat him. And then Terry Bruce Hitler comes in with his gun and I would have shot you, but I'm all out of bullets. So it's just this, like, we bring all these characters together. There's Carol Crabbit, what's his, oh, he's the big boy with the butter. That's a little joke we pull with this one of our characters. I'm blanking on his name. That's the worst. It's Doug Prish-Preed. Doug Prish-Preed's ridiculous. He's this guy, this jolly-looking guy who we get to play this character, like, and he always talks about like upcoming sports events or town events, and he, like, his hand movements never match what he's saying. It's just like bizarre. Like, we're trying to create like this uncanny feel, of course. So he's like got all these movements. So Brown is this like character who follows Steve Brule in the first season. Then he gets a more major role. He's just this like very like rugged looking guy, and he's like, and we have this scene where he runs a daycare, and we got like half children, half like little people in diapers running around, and they're just running around like and then it's like, if we have this sick joke where it's like, if they misbehave, they have to see Brown too, and then the camera turns and another Brown peeks out of like the door. It's just wrong. Like, what's Brown 2 doing to these kids? Like, we don't sometimes we let the mind do the work for how far a joke goes, because we just like to, you know, set up the boundaries and then just let people have a field day trying to figure out what we were trying to say. So then Brown's in jail in the most recent season, and Steve's like, oh, Brown, are you Brown 1 or 2? And Brown goes like 2, and then like it's like real dark because the other guy's killing people, or like it's just so wrong. But another show, I'm gonna move on to another show now, which is Tim and Eric's Bedtime Stories, our most recent IP. Well, I'm also working on a show called Decker in my free time. I'll get to that. But Tim and Eric's Bedtime Stories is like our version of the Twilight Zone, or most recently Black Mirror. It's like an anthology series of just these messed up, often dark stories involving like me, Eric, Zach Galifianakis appears in some of them, Jason Schwartzman, John C. Reilly, of course, and we just have a grand time. Zach has been in since The Awesome Show. Like, we've been working with him forever. He does really funny things. So Bedtime Stories started out with like this haunted house episode, send up on the classic haunted house, like ghost skeletons like floating and rattling, and Zach Galifianakis plays the guy who is scared of everything and terrified. And the whole reveal is, so we it's either we get our father's inheritance and live in a haunted house for the rest of our lives, or we don't get it at all. So when the three of us are like, we're living there, and we spend our whole lives there. Once Zach and us are old men, he finds out it was all a prank. We got the inheritance anyways, and Zach's just like, I wasted my whole life. So he's like, exits the house. They're like, yeah, you can leave. We're like, yeah, you can leave. And he's like, who could I have been? A husband, a father, so many things. A lawyer, a doctor, a man who sings. Who could I have been? He does, like, we love queuing in these like ridiculous music numbers and stuff like that don't really belong, but it's just like hits those right tropes, hits those right cliches, that it makes you laugh at how recognizable and simultaneously contextually unfit the whole scene is. And then Bad Time Stories got picked up for a full season, and that's when we did like a bunch of episodes. Like Toes was with Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk was this doctor who was like snipping his patients' toes off and like eating them. And he gets caught by a detective, and they have like a big showdown. That one has one of our trademark abrupt endings where the detective is with Bob Odenkirk's son. He's like, "I'm your dad now." Once Bob Odenkirk's dead. And then we did Bathroom Boys, which is me, Eric, and Zach again. And it's funny because we set out this whole precedent for Bad Time Stories to be our dark series with these dark tales, but we just play it like so casually. And Bathroom Boys is just like some goofy comedy of us in like a bathroom, living in a public restroom, and we have a bunch of women over, and Eric and I get to porking them in the stalls, and there's like this over the top Eric and I bouncing out up and down these sound effects like flushing, and then Zach doesn't get porked by his lady. Then the superintendent comes who doesn't know we're in the bathroom, and he enters, and we've got them all dressed up like men, so he's like, "Something's going on here," when he walks in and sees these two like women dressed as men at the urinal, and one steps out of the stall. "Something's going on here. I can't put my finger on it, but something's going on here." And once again, an abrupt ending. We love this. And that's kind of it. Like, he doesn't call them out. He doesn't figure it out. What's done is done, and what's said is done. So, and then we move on to the next episode, which I believe was, Angel. There's no order, but Angel Boy. Angel Boy. I played this like singer, Swedish or something singer, who this guy was obsessed with. Then he finds out Angel Boy, if he gets wet, he goes demonic, and at the end I kind of get wet and go demonic, and my voice gets deep, and I no longer hit those angelic notes. So then Eric plays the guy who's obsessed with me, and he's like, if I want to keep my boy's voice high, I gotta keep him dry. If I gotta keep my boy's voice high, I gotta keep him dry. It's just like this ridiculous rhyme. Like, that plays into the whole story, of course. And Roommates was a 30-minute special. It involved, it was like kind of like making fun of that East LA culture. Like, these guys, like, these wannabe actors, like, wearing fedoras, like, move into, like, an apartment complex, and they're, like, speaking like the very limited knowledge of Spanish they have. We're just playing with this like LA hipster culture of these guys like, "Ooh, I got my new headshot done. Ooh, I got a new audition today for a student film. Oh, I got this. Don't Call Me Mambo is the student film." It's just like this ridiculous send up, and like then Eric starts sleeping with my mom and like mutually masturbating. It's just weird. Like, we could have done Sleeping With, but of course, being a Tim and Eric production, we have to go with something a little stranger, like mutually masturbating. And so Eric and my mom in the film were like having this affair, and then the third guy enters. I got a one-man show. It needed half an hour for all the elements to come together. This other guy's a juice boy. I love making what was it? It's, these Bloody Marys, BMs, Bloody Marys. We do a joke on BM and bowel movement Bloody Mary. So Eric is drinking our coffee master, and so basically it all comes together. I found out Eric's this porno guy, and it's like played like a traditional plot twist. Like, wait, you're Tony Cheese with the tiny penis, and just bear with me. So it's like, you know, like we're playing it like this matters. Like, we got all this plot established, but then this third, like, out of nowhere Deus Ex Machina of, like, an anti-productive Deus Ex Machina in a lot of ways, where he's like, Tony Cheese with a tiny penis? Tony Cheese with a tiny penis. So then I'm like, why didn't you tell me in the roommate contract? And it's just like a silly way to tie together a plot line, or break apart a plot line, rather, expecting like a big twist, and it's just something completely left field. And then I end the show with a one-man show as Franklin Bing. And it's like, it's so over the top. It's like, It's called Roommates, the show. That's also the name of the episode. So I'm like, yeah. Tony Cheese. The worst roommate I've ever had. Tony Cheese with a tiny penis. But he wasn't just any porno guy. He liked getting kicked in the balls. Then we have like a way off time, like whoop, ow, sound effect. Yeah, that's right, getting kicked in the balls. Whoop, ow. Was screwing my mamacita. And then we have like some like orgasm sound effect. And then I'm like, I do want to thank Tony for one thing. That's right, thank Tony. What? He's thinking what? Whenever we do scenes with audiences, we have like these extremely unfit people who wouldn't like be seen whatever we're showing on stage. So like like on the Crimbus special, it was an audience full of like middle-aged men in suits. And in this one, we got this guy who's just like looking dead-eyed. And they're like, thank Tony Cheese, and I point to him, and he's just like straight facing. I'm like, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, for giving me an ending to my play. And I walk like around, like as opposed to going through the door. I walk around this door and I come to this like window, and I'm like, okay, play's done. You can all leave. And it's just a hilarious send up on the whole abstract plot line of the whole episode. Then there's the endorsement with Jason Schwartzman. That's one where he doesn't have time, or he doesn't want to do these big endorsement deals. But then they're like, don't worry, we can do one in your sleep, and we'll only play in foreign markets. So then he does it, and it's like some watch ad that they rig him up, they kidnap him, and then like rig him up to like pose in his sleep, and he's just like being pulled on like crane, like. And they like pose him, Photoshop open eyes on him, and then the next day he sees billboard right on Sunset Boulevard, and it's like he looks so weird. He's got these giant eyes, and then the media loses it, and it's like Jason Schwartzman's a dink. He's a dink, with like just a made up word. Like you could say like you should say like a loser or something, but I think it's a lot more fun to play with language and do like a word like a dink, like. What's a dink? Like that adds a whole new comedy dynamic to it. Like dink? Yeah, he's a dink. I don't know what that means. But, so then his life falls apart, and we have this weird ending with these media, like TMZ guys who are like filming a woman in a cage, and they're like, ah, ha, 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 like laughing because they got the scoop. And then the baby was the John C. Reilly one we did. And John C. Reilly plays this like man-child who sees this Become a Baby program on TV, and he's like, I'll do that. So he like really wants to do this Become a Baby thing, and he calls up, and they come up to his house, put him in diapers, steal all his stuff, and then he's like all sad, and he goes to a restaurant, and this woman's there who sits with him and then like starts laughing at him, and he has a seizure, and it's just like that one was a real dark ending. This woman, he thinks he's like falling in love with this woman. She tricks him, and he like seizes up, like, and then she's like, oops. And it's just like this weird like subversion of your expectations, because we love subverting expectations, because it's like, what's easier to play with, what's easier to surprise people with than if you understand what they want to see and you turn that on its head. That's what Tim and Eric is all about. Tim and Eric, awesome show. Tim and Eric bedtime stories, you name it. We did 2 more bedtime stories later, Sauce Boy and Tornado. Sauce Boy, it was about Eric was eating diapers, and he had to like kick the diaper habit for good. He's like, I don't want to have these diapers anymore. And he's like eating all these diapers all the time. So then I'm like, I got the cure for you. Come work for us, and you could keep eating this, having this cure. So then it's just a placebo in the end. So it's like, doesn't make any sense by the end. But basically he has to make the sauce at this big Italian classic mobster restaurant where Mama Pantone sings. We got this woman, and it's like, Mama Pantone is singing songs from the old country. So you expect her to show up and be like this very plain, like you expect her to show up and be this very like straightforward like singer, but she's just singing like nursery rhymes like three blind mice, and all these big Italian looking guys are like loving it. It's like, woo, yeah, Mama Pantone, yeah. And and then everyone loves Eric's sauce, but then he gets replaced the next day by this young Italian boy because Italians take precedent. And then I'm just like, Eric, it's the placebo. And it's like this whole like moral at the end, like, listen, you eat diapers, it's what you do. Nobody can change that. You'd be you. Here, go to a children's hospital, eat some diapers on me. So then there's this like music kicks in, like, and Eric's walking away all sad and gives up, and it's like everyone's expecting this narrative arc where the hero of the journey, the protagonist, will grow. I'll go back to the infomercial thing. So it's like everyone expects this. Hero starts about here, gets lower, comes back up, and then like succeeds. But what we do is like we start the hero at the very bottom, give just the hint of success, and then he ends lower than he ever was. His wife's gone. She found out about the diapers, and like he has so many kids because he loves diapers. So yeah, that's what we like to play with, this like hero's arc. Like at the end, like you totally expect him to be like, yeah, I made a great sauce, I kicked the habit, but then he just goes back to it, loses his job like nothing. Tornado, we also play with that kind of arc in a different way. It's like a send up on like those classic like conceptual horror movies, and this one was like this guy filled his like septic tank with splooge, we call it glue, in the episode, and like that septic tank gets landed on Children's Hospital, and the priest is gonna out him, as like the local priest is gonna out him and ruin his career. So then it's like, unless you get your balls chopped off. It completely ridiculous concept, and we like play it straight pretty much for the whole thing. And he's like, so he gets this surgery, and the priest is there and does it without anesthetic, and he's like, and he's like falling for this girl, but he doesn't have balls. But then this guy brings him his balls back and pushes the balls back in. And then he like has a kid with this woman, he's married. And then at Christmas with this kid, the priest shows up and he's like, that's my kid. You got my balls. And then the priest like snuck his balls back into that guy because priests can't have sex and children of their own. So he's like, you got my balls now. And the guy's like, get these balls out of me. And the woman's like, what's going on? Give me my baby. And it's just like this insane climax. Like this time we actually like kind of start here. Then it keeps going up. We just keep raising the stakes, raising the insanity. There's maybe a plateau towards the end, but then it rockets back up. And then like instead of resolving the problem, we end right when the problem makes sense. And I think that's kind of something I really enjoyed doing. Playing with this idea of traditional narrative structure for comedy purpose or absurdist purpose, where one would typically usually do something like, introduce the problem and then he gets revenge on the priest. Priest wins. He gets away. That's the end. It's all for comedy's sake. It's all for like making the audience laugh. It's all for like a goof and a gag. You know that, of course. And there's the I'll move on to the one larger project we had, which I'm kind of proud of. I think Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie. This was our feature film. Went to Sundance, got like a limited release. But I think we were trying too hard to appeal to audiences with that one. Where it was still weird. Don't get me wrong, but there was like a straightforward narrative. We didn't really do any of that playing with the arc stuff I was talking about that I really loved doing. But like, yeah, there is like a narrative arc there. that is a little more traditional. But it is funny. Eric and I get $1 billion to make this grand movie, and we blow it all on this crappy John Depp. We get John Depp back from Awesome Show, and John Depp's Diamond Jim. He's this guy who's like bonjour. It's just like an obnoxiously like French movie where this guy is giving people diamonds, and that's all there is to it. So and then they blow it all, and the investors are like, I want my money back. So they run away, and they try to save a shut down mall. And this mall is like real shut down. It's got like dirt, homeless people living in it. You got like a wolf roaming around. So they try to save this mall. The guys catch on, find them, and there's a grand climax where Will Forte runs a sword shop, and they like start throwing swords at all the like mobsters and the guys after them. But we have a little bits. We have like a Shrem. Shrem is like this, like a weird like like this place you go where you get your spirits lifted. And we got this weird video with like people on green screen like Ron Oster, and it's like shrimp, 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 and they're like screaming. And we use these weird actors and make them do these absurd things. Sometimes we downplay an absurd concept. Sometimes we upplay a normal concept. So we upplayed the idea of this like hospice care place, and have this crazy video. And then the shrimp itself is a bunch of boys diarrheaing onto you in a tub. So it's completely repulsive at that point. It's like, oh, like I wouldn't want to like go near that shrimp place. But the whole story, Eric falls in love with this woman. There's like some weird graphic like sex scene between me and her, and Eric gets jealous, and it's just like, yeah, I still think that it had its moments. It had, for sure, Zach Galifianakis, Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly played Taquito in that, who was like a little boy trapped in a man's body. And, you know, it had the day players, the usual players in one of Tim and Eric's shows, one of our shows. I just think we played the plot line a little safe, and played some of it a little safer, a little mainstream, a little maybe over the top without the subtlety. Because I think subtlety is key when executing our brand of humor. Because it's easy to do our humor and like do an absurd concept absurdly. I think that's where people fail. You got this absurd concept, and then you execute it with this self-aware, like absurd like nature, and it doesn't work. You got to do a normal concept absurdly, or an absurd concept normally. And I think that's a very valuable lesson we learned pretty early on. We had some really weird stuff in Awesome Show, and I think we've been toning it down since. Eric does a lot of music videos, some acting in Aziz Ansari's show, Master of None. So he's been doing his own thing, and I do my own thing as well. It's I have a couple series running with Adult Swim. Some of them are web series. One long series that started as a podcast is On Cinema. Me and my great friend Greg Tarkington started On Cinema as this podcast where we talk about movies, and it's just super dry. Like, it was great when podcasts were getting real big and we would like not even tell any jokes. It was just like, what do you think of the movie Smurfs? Oh, Smurfs is good. And we would just talk about it like that. But that kind of escalated into this web show with Adult Swim, where we started to have like video, and Greg and I, and then there was drama. I got this fake wife, Ayaka, in it, and like I have a kid called Tom Cruise Jr. Kid gets killed by an irresponsible doctor I use, and it's just this ongoing plot with me and Greg reviewing movies, but I got all these personal problems, and Greg is the movie buff who wants to keep it alive. So then, simultaneously with that series, we started making a series Decker, and in On Cinema I kind of play this uber conservative version of myself, where in real life I lean more towards liberal issues, but on cinema I lean more towards a conservative, crazy maniac. So I make the show Heidecker, which is all about me fighting terrorists and like fighting the Taliban, as I call them. And it's just this really poorly done. Like we play up like bad green screen and bad like special effects to like the max, and it's just me like shooting terrorists, shooting it's just this absurdly over the top show. And we got the first season was very low budget. Second season, we went to Hawaii and had a lot of fun. Got this character Lanoy Arnold in it who owns like a tiki bar, and he winds up being the villain, and it's just there's this big conflict. And I think the whole idea, I think we're experimenting with comedy in a way that goes beyond the mere thing itself, and is rather about the fact that we've taken it so far, the fact that we're so committed to building this world of On Cinema, that there's a whole spin-off series that's like a spy show. And we took that to Adult Swim TV this year, and Heidecker Unclassified, it was about Decker's life is over, and the President Davidson reads back his will, like reads back all of his great journeys that have been kept top secret until his death. So there's like me going and like me training in the military, me and my band infiltrating like some party in the Middle East, and I got my band actually, Heidecker. That's another part of the On Cinema universe. It's like me playing out these real local, real crummy bands like Heidecker, like it's like obviously just Heidecker promotional band, but we do these ridiculous songs, and Greg hates them on Cinema. It's kind of like there's non-stop war between Greg and I, and Greg is too timid and mild-mannered to ever stand up for himself, and I'm too hot-headed and crazy to ever listen to him. So there's this constant conflict, and I'm like, yeah, I'm playing with Heidecker on this episode. Like a whole episode we were supposed to review movies, and here I was showing Greg Heidecker's new EP. It's just like, Greg's like, oh, can you stop this? This is ridiculous. And it's like, the EP was Empty Bottle. It's like, I like an empty bottle, fill me up again. And with On Cinema, we just missed Oscar season. We didn't do it this year. We did kind of a last minute thing this year, but for a couple years straight we were doing an Oscar special, which was a live streamed during the same time as the Oscars, where we had the On Cinema world all come together, and like me and Greg arguing, coming head to head, me talking about like my favorite bands, like Heidecker, I always bring them on. We do like acoustic covers, we do the Empty Bottle live on the On Cinema Oscar special with Axiom, my guitar player. And it's just, it's all about the world building, it's all about the fan base, because it's not one of my more popular projects, but the fans are very devoted. They get very into it, all the comments play it very real. Like, if you go on a video without getting the comedy, you'd think Greg and I were actually like in a fight based on the comments. Like, people are like, oh, I'm a Tim head, I'm a Greg head, and it's like all about this like battle between us. And let's see if there's anything I forgot. Well, Bob Odenkirk, I should probably bring up Bob Odenkirk, who did Mr. Show. Him and David Cross did Mr. Show, which was a huge influence on Eric and I. Bob Odenkirk was responsible in large part for getting our comedy career off to the start, because they were doing Mr. Show in the 90s, which also featured some more experimental sketch comedy like us. They really liked what we did, and Bob Odenkirk got us out there. Thank you. See ya.